Well, good morning. I thought it was appropriate after some time, since we don't have a cabin full of stuff. I'm up here by myself. Just came up last night. In advance of a big day today, we're adding actually the big 12 by building and the other 10 by building in order to increase the square footage up here at the off-grid cabin. But we thought we'd give you a tour of what's already up here. So this little building here was here when we bought the property. We're on 20 acres in central Ontario. And this building is 12 by 20, but it's also got a loft in it. When we bought it, it was a ramshackle mess. The chimney had broken off the ceiling, but they did a nice job building the actual structure itself. It's got a covered porch on it, steel roof. The floor was kind of insulated. We still have to fix that up a little bit. But it's got pine siding on it and a nice deep soffit. They did a good job actually with a fair bit of angle on the back of the cabin, which prevents the hot summer sun from coming in and heating the building up too much, but still allows the sun in the winter. So it is a little bit passively solar. Back here's where we do our campfiring. And there's just so much forest, but I'm gonna hop inside here. The black flies are out with a fury again, which is typical for this time of year. It is mid-May, but we'll give you a tour here of our off-grid cabin in the woods. It's got about a 3-foot porch on it. I wish it was a 6-foot porch. Always keep a fire extinguisher handy. But on in here, we have our main living space. So this is really our kitchen cabin. We're adding more square footage to serve other jobs, but this is a pull-out couch. I do need to finish off the ceiling. That's the last thing we got to do. But we've got a dining room table big enough to fit 6. Over here, we actually repurposed a kitchen out of a house that was getting torn down. Someone was renovating their home and decided to sell this kitchen, so we picked it up on what we use here in Ontario, Kijiji, which is an app kind of like Craigslist. So we took this out of there and put this kitchen in this really small cabin, and it works really well. It gives us lots of storage space. We have a 12-volt fridge that we typically run off of either the Blue Eddy or the EcoFlow. We heat the building with this wood stove, which does a great job all the way down to, minus 35. We've been up here. For water, we're at this point just using borrowed water from neighbors and family. We typically bring 5 or 6 of these 5-gallon jugs up here, which does the trick for us. And then when we drain it, the sink is just plumbed right into a bucket. So it's the easy way to do it for now. We do have intentions of doing rainwater collection, but also potentially, who knows, at some point as we expand things up here, we may drill a well. But in this area, that's very expensive, and there's actually no guarantee you're going to get water. I think we would have a good chance where we are. So that's the water situation. Let me open up the attic here and we'll go and have a look upstairs. Okay, so here we have your old school tri-fold attic ladder. Every time I open this, I think back about National Lampoon's Christmas. It works okay, but it's noisy. We're gonna try to put in a more permanent setup. But then up here, we spent a bunch of time finishing the loft off. And to my right, we have a queen size bed, which is up until today when we bring up the other building. That's where my wife and I have slept. We just use a DeWalt fan when it gets a little warm. I mean, keeping it simple here, folks. And then over here, which is where the boys sleep, we have a couple of twins. So this loft is only maybe 4 feet in height, but it's more than enough room to scooch around and come up here and sleep very comfortably. That window does open, and when you got the fan going in here, we get really good airflow. So here's the loft. One thing I don't hear people talk about a lot in their cabins is window treatments. So my mom actually sells blinds, which is very fortunate for us because we get a pretty good deal on them, but they do serve a number of purposes. So one, security. You can't see inside when these blinds are down. Two, they do a really good job of maintaining both heat and cool. So when this blind is down in the summertime, it keeps all that hot heat from the summer out. It gets rid of almost all the UV. And thirdly, I mean, it's just nice. It feels comfortable in here. These are screen weave blinds and they're just all on rollers. But as you can see, we've got a lot of windows around here. And when we leave this place, we just close all the blinds up. Oh, and it just reminds me. So until we do a better completed system, we've been using this cheap little Amazon light system for lights, and it's done an amazing job. Every time we come up here, it just always is full, and we can stay up here for a week. That thing's gonna charge today in the hot sun, and it's just got a tiny little, let's see here if I can get this open without causing too much of a mess. It's got a tiny little like 10-watt panel that we just leave inside, and it charges just fine right through the window. So there's a light here above the table, one above the kitchen, and we have one more up in the loft, which is all we use for lighting up here. Internally, of course. I do have the building wired. So eventually we've got Romex running through the walls. Eventually we're gonna put in a house battery system, but to get us to this point, that's all we use for light. So for cooking up here, we do it in a number of ways. We either use the Martin stove, which has 2 burners on the top of it. We actually do a lot of cooking right on the wood stove. We have a barbecue outside, which also gets used occasionally, but most often than not, oh man, it's so nice out. Oh, I'm sorry. I just startled the bird that's building a nest right outside our front door. So we do have a barbecue, but more often than not, we actually use a griddle, which is, in my opinion, the cleanest, easiest, most convenient way to cook when you're off grid, and we just stick it right over there on that table. We are gonna add a kitchen cabin over in this area sometime, maybe this year or early next year. But good morning, Canada, and everywhere else you're from. It's a beautiful day, and there we are. Here's our off-grid cabin in the woods. Just a quick tour. If y'all had any questions, please go ahead and ask. And as we build up this channel a little bit and add more structures and add more infrastructure, we'll keep showing you. These pads over here are gonna get filled up today, and we're pretty excited to see what's next for us. Oh, I forgot to mention, those ICB totes, we do intend to collect water off of that roof with them. So we're gonna have a more advanced plumbing system for showering and dishwashing water, and that's coming up in the short future. But for now, there you go. There's the cabin in the woods. We've been spending a couple years in here just like this, and every time we come, we just make it better. Ciao for now.